Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the fairly shortish catalog of a very cool band from Switzerland that got their start back in the very early 70s, and then in certain forms or another kind of kept recording into the 90s. The band is called Toad. Yes, that's right. There is a band called Toad in rock and roll history. Like I said, from Switzerland. Their first album came out in 1971, but they formed in 1970. The band, the early lineup, which is considered the classic lineup, comprised of Vic Vergat, or Vic Vergate, however he says his name, Vergeat. He's the guitar hero in this band. Damn fine guitar hero, I might add. We lost him a couple of years back. Eventually became the singer in the band, or one of the two singers in the band. Werner Frohlich on bass, also vocals. Tremendous bass player. Cosimo Lampis on drums. And then early in the band's career on their first album, their singer Benjamin Yeager. He was the vocalist on the first album, but in subsequent albums in the 70s, Vic and Werner both shared lead vocals, or vocals in general. So we've got interesting scenario here. We've got 3 albums that came out in the 70s. You've got another couple of albums, well, an EP and an album that came out in the early mid-90s. What they've done, this whole catalog has been reissued by Green Tree, New Music Green Tree, which is they do bootlegs and they reissue, they do some official reissuing of certain catalogs. They have reissued basically the entire Toad catalog. And what they did is they took the EP, Stop This Crime, and the Hate to Hate full length, and they've combined them all into one album. So we're gonna review them as one album here. So there's that, and then there's also 2 albums which, again, came out way after the band was no longer in existence anymore. One called Blues United Fighting Organization, otherwise known as BUFO, which is a collection of rarities and alternate songs and things like that, kind of like an odds and sods. And then there's another one that was originally called Rarities, which was released in 1992, re-released as Behind the Wheels in 2004. That also is a kind of odds and sods, rarities, some live versions, alternate versions, songs never before released, that sort of thing. I don't normally include those types of releases in these album rankings, but because this is a fairly short catalog to begin with, and because you do get some previously unreleased things on these little rarity sets, I'm going to include both of those in here. All right. They also have, I'm not going to talk about them today, but I do want to mention them. This Green Tree label also has released some cool live things from the band. So we've got the Live in Basel 1972, which is absolutely smoking. We've got Yearning and Learning live in 1978 as well. And then a later live album called State of Grace, recorded live in Switzerland, 1994. So you've got 3 live albums too. So, and again, all these are wonderfully put together with great live shots of the band, and most of these, and I'll show them as we go through them, have great liner notes and things like that, and they all sound really, really good. So if you have any prior CD editions of any of the Toad discography, I do have a few of them. I have the first 3 on some CD issue that were from like 30 some years ago. So now you got brand new ones that have even more content. There's bonus tracks and all of these and everything like that. So very, very cool stuff. So let's get started with the first one here. I'm going to go with the only one that I don't have a hard copy of, and that's the Behind the Wheels, or as it's called, Rarities set. Again, originally released in 1992 as Rarities, 2004 reissued as Behind the Wheels. It's very similar to the BUFO set, but all sorts of different tracks, obviously. Starts off with Rockin' and Lovin', which is kind of somewhat generic, but decent enough hard rock song. For the most part, this band is a hard rock, heavy rock, band, blues rock band. They kind of went a little bit different in the mid 70s and started doing more like a funk rock thing. I'll talk about that time period as well. And some of the later stuff that they released when they got back together many, many years later, when Vic Vergat was basically running the show and the band. They became much, much more of like an 80s style hard rock band. So you hear lots of influences by like, Ted Nugent and other bands of that, of Ted Nugent style of music from that time period. That's what kind of it reminds me of. So Rockin' and Lovin', pretty good hard rock song. You got Slow Down, fast-paced, frantic hard rock song. Again, sounds like classic Ted Nugent to my ears. Absolutely blazing lead guitar from Vic. You got Behind the Wheels, laid back slow blues. There's lots of blues throughout this catalog too, for those of you who like hard rock and blues rock. You got I Ain't Got Time, another metallic blues rocker. More cranking guitar from Vic, which is really good. You got Everybody's Baby, which to me sounds like Foghat. If you like Foghat, I think you'll dig that. Making Groupies Happy is kind of piano-led honky-tonk boogie. Don't like that at all. Just sounds really weird coming from this band. You got a song like Tonight, laid back bluesy pop, some nice slide guitar on that. Baby You is kind of funky pop rock. There's a couple tracks on this album that sounds like the band was going through like a yacht rock period. That song, Baby You, totally sounds like yacht rock. It's actually pretty fun song if you like that style of music, soft rock, right, with funky pop type of thing. But it's unlike anything else they've ever done. You got Making You Feel Right, kind of similar, groove-laden funky pop, I Got Enough of You is acoustic bluesy pop. I don't really dig it all that much, not that good. Music, song called Music, sounds like Bob Welch, when Bob Welch was in his kind of pop phase. That's kind of interesting. There's a full cover of Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze here with vocals. On the other set, they do an instrumental take on that. It's absolutely blistering. Really, really good. Using My Life is kind of boring pop song. Give Me a Little Money, another honky-tonk, bluesy kind of stinker. I don't really like that much. So for me, this set is kind of hit or miss, but there is some good stuff to be found on here. If you wade through all the tracks, there's a lot of tracks on this one, but there's some good stuff and there's some weird changes in direction and whatnot, but pretty good. If you can seek it out, I would say go check it out. That's either called Rarities or Behind the Wheels, depending on which issue you get. All right, so next up, I'm going to go to number 5. I'm going to go to Blues United Fighting Organization, otherwise known as BUFO. All right, so here's what this one looks like. Like I said, these sets are all really, really well put together. All right. This was originally released in 2003. Again, a collection of rarities, alternate takes, alternate versions of songs. It starts off with Pig's Walk, which is basically an early and more raw and jammy version of a song called Cottonwood Hill from the very, very first album. Vic's guitar is absolutely screaming here. This guy is one of the most amazing unknown guitar players that you never heard of before. He's so, so good. You got the heavy blues rock of Animals World. Sounds a lot like 10 years after. A lot of that early like bluesier blues rock stuff sounds like 10 years after. You got the really busy bass and blazing electric guitar. Really, really good. What else we got here? Got kind of No Time is kind of like jazzy blues rock. Think of like Bachman Turner Overdrive when they did those like kind of like little bluesy jazzy tunes. That's kind of what that sounds like. You got the absolutely ripping blues of Walking in the Moonlight, which got more great lead guitar from Vic. And then Werner's like walking bass lines just off the charts. This band, especially the early stuff, has so much prominent like lead bass work. It's like it's the bass work is almost as prominent as the lead guitar work. I love that. I love when you hear that bass player and he's doing all sorts of really busy stuff and he's really high up in the mix. Really, really good. Dream Girl, another kind of bluesy jam. Great wah-wah guitars from Vic. And again, Werner's always busy bass lines. Love it. You get a different version of the song A Life Ain't Worth Living, again from one of the earlier records. Very much sounds like Cream, really good. And you get a raw version of their instrumental Tank, another song from early in the catalog. There's also a cover of Feeling All Right on here, which is cool. And then you got a song called Lone Wolf Rocks, which is just a blistering blues rocker. Really, really good. I think this is a pretty strong set of odds and sides. I think this is much, much more cohesive and enjoyable than the other one. But again, some of the stuff that's on here is on other albums, but you do get some stuff that's not. So very, very cool. Dig that quite a bit. All right, number 4. Again, I mentioned before that in the 90s they released like an EP and then a full length, so they kind of put those together. It was called Stop This Crime and Hate to Hate. Well, they've reissued the whole set now as Stop This Crime. Right, so here it combines the two of them. So essentially this is kind of like the fourth and fifth release, although can you really call Stop This Crime a full length because it was only 3 songs or whatever. But they're all on here together now. So you got Vic on guitars and vocals, you got Cosimo on drums, and you got a new bass player called Andre Bussen. To me, again, this sounds like late 80s, early 90s. Ted Nugent, throw a little Extreme in there, maybe a little Great Whites, that kind of bluesy, metallic, hard rock type of thing. Let's Rock kicks it all off. Energetic, hard rock anthem, really dig that. Down to the Bone, also quite raucous. Sounds a little like Pat Travers, like classic Pat Travers. Again, that kind of little funky feel is still here. And I think Vic's guitar is absolutely molten on this whole set. Just up front in the mix and lethal. Stop This Crime, more of an acoustic rocker. Hate to Hate brings these really crunchy guitar licks all over the place. I really like that. I Don't Want to Lose You reminds me of the more kind of like bluesy pop ballad stuff done by like Cinderella, Great White, bands like that. It's pretty good. Money Don't Matter rocks hard, great riffs, great lead guitar. It Took You Just 1 Minute, kind of a slow blues number, but a monstrous solo from Vic on it. Really good. The Game She Play, sizzling heavy blues rock, killer song. War Is Dumb, more blues, kind of like a groovy blues, acoustic blues rocker. It's pretty good. Julie's Got the Blues. It's like a throwaway acoustic blues ballad. Don't like that at all. Help Me Baby, also similar. And Ain't Nobody Gonna Worry is more of like a vocal-oriented rockabilly song. Very strange. The album ends really weird. I don't like the last 3 tracks much at all, but there's some great rockers early on in the set on here. So I think that the hard rock and stuff on here outweighs those couple of weak tracks. But again, lots of Toads on here, and again, these little digipacks are very well done with lots of information, and photos and things like that. So very cool. So yeah, that's my number 4, Stop the Crime / Hate to Hate combined. Number 3 is going to be their third album from 1975 called Dreams. All right. There they are. There's Vic playing that Firebird, right? Very cool. They look the part, right? They just have that look. So here, the band is doing a little deviation from their first 2 albums. They're taking more of a funk rock direction on this album. If you think like Trapeze, Deep Purple, Stormbringer, the James Gang, especially the Tommy Bolin era, that's kind of what you get on here. It starts off with Keep On Moving, which is fun, up-tempo, funky, hard rock song. Crisp guitars, lots of clavinet. If you love clavinet and kind of like funk rock stuff, you'll totally dig this. Title track is kind of this haunting, folky prog piece. Got Mellotron, multi-track vocals, tasty Vic guitar solo. Pretty interesting song. Let's Get High is total boogie rock, kind of generic. Electric Rider, solid hard rocker. Verno's bass, enormous, and some great lead guitar from Vic on that. Because You're Not, to me, again, sounds like Tommy Bolin era James Gang, really good hard rocker. You Know Who I Am is kind of like this mystical folk rock piece. It's decent. Boogie on a Saturday Night, another generic boogie rocker. And then you got Breakdown is another really fun, strong James Gang style funky hard rocker. I love the wah-wah riffs on this one, and the lead bass lines are just really good. You've also got some cool session tracks. All of these reissues have all sorts of cool bonus tracks of stuff that was recorded during the session. So here you've got the instrumental version of Purple Haze, right, from Jimi Hendrix. Then you got this mostly acoustic funky blues boogie song called Making You Feel Right, added on here as well. So, and then there's a couple of tracks here called Dolce Delilah and Torne Verso Il Sole, which are done by the Blackbirds, and I think that was an earlier version of the band from the 60s. It totally sounds like it came from there. Does not have English vocals, and it's got this kind of like psychedelic pop type of thing going on there, so different version of the band. So yeah, so really cool stuff. And like I said, change in direction, couple clunkers, but some really good songs on here a lot. So very interesting album. So that's my number 3, Dreams. Number 2, I'm going to go with their second album from 1972 called Tomorrow Blue. Sorry. Yes, it is all blue. But again, the digipack, kind of cool. You got shots of the band and some info and whatnot. So this album, as well as the first album, engineered by Martin Birch. Yes, that Martin Birch. Here we have Vic and Werner now sharing lead vocals. Okay. Benjamin Yeager has left the band. He left right after the first album and was not replaced, so they decided not to get a full-on lead singer. They decided to kind of do it themselves. Thoughts opens up, continues on with the heavy metallic blues rock of the first album. Really, really good track. A lot of heavy riffs, a lot of slashing lead guitar. The acrobatic bass lines and Cosmo's drum work is really busy on this track. Really, really good. The title track, 9+ minutes of blues and boogie rock. Good track. You got Blind Chapman's Tale is more of like a blues and folk piece. You got guest star on this album, Helmut Lipski, plays some violin on a couple tracks. So that adds a little different element. Got a song called Vampires, which is upbeat, heavy blues and boogie. Great guitar from Vic on that one, really good. No Need reminds me of a heavy 10 Years After. Like I said, you do hear the 10 Years After. You hear the Cream on here in spots. Really good. It's just like frantic blues rock with just blistering lead guitar, that very busy bass and drums. Really, really good stuff. Change in Time is 12 plus minutes of energetic blues rock. Again, with loads and loads of souling. You get this really cool middle section which comes up in this track that slows things down. It gets kind of proggy, atmospheric, and a little folky. Got some acoustic guitar and violin, and then boom, the heavy riffs come crashing back in. More shredding, soloing. Really, really good. Really, really good song. So the session tracks from this one that didn't include the album, you got a cool song called Fly, which again sounds like Cream. Very cool song. You have a weird cover of the Beatles, I Saw Her Standing There, which turns that song into like this hard driving boogie rock track. Very interesting, very different. It's almost like if you weren't really paying attention, you almost don't know that's what it is. And then a song called Green Ham, which is kind of like a bluesy folk instrumental. Again, it's got a mix of electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and the violin comes back in on there. All in all, pretty strong album. Not as mind-blowing as the debut. And, surprisingly enough, without Benjamin on lead vocals, they really don't lose any steam at all. The vocals are fine on here, I think. So, really good album. Now for the album in the catalog. There's this album, and then there's everything else. The self-titled Toad release from 1971. This is one of the most underrated and unknown heavy rock, proto-metal, heavy blues rock albums of this time period. So again, Martin Birch engineered this particular album. Vic Vergat is basically the star of the show. He's got some aggressive, molten riffs all throughout this album. The guitar solos are like jagged and slashing and searing and sizzling, all that stuff. It starts off with Cottonwood Hill, which is a great heavy blues rock song. Big riffs, big solos, and that lead bass work of Werner Froelich is just so amazing. A Life That Ain't Worth Living sounds a bit like Mountain or Cream. Again, the bass is really high in the mix. Great song. Tank is a heavy instrumental with loads of like guitar and bass solos, big crashing drums. Excellent track. They Say I'm Mad is heavy, heavy, heavy slow blues. Again, think, you can hear Cream all over this. The big booming bassy lead bass and the great guitar work. I mean, Vic's guitar work is so good. That walking bass line, excellent, excellent stuff. Life Goes On is kind of proto-doom. Man, you got these big, enormous, just doomy riffs and Ben's kind of spooky vocals. It kind of sounds like DOA era blood rock a little bit. Really good. Lots of atmosphere, lots of just chilling passages. You get a little bit of acoustic stuff in the middle, loads of screaming solos, just crushing riffs. Oh, so good. Pig's Walk is a fast-paced heavy rocker, which kind of reminds me of Sir Lord Baltimore. You get more slashing lead guitar and booming lead bass on this. You get a drum solo on it, wah-wah guitar licks. Oh man, it's just so good. So good. The One I Mean closes the album on an acoustic bluesy pop note, which is kind of strange. It's really the only song on here that I don't really enjoy all much, but the rest is absolutely killer. You get some bonus tracks from the sessions included on here as well, which you can, like I said, if you listen on YouTube, you can find them all here as well. You got the Heavy Animals. Right, man, the bass rules. So again, some of this stuff appears on some of the other those Odds and Sods releases we talked about, and the frantic heavy rock track Stay, which is incredible. And to me, both of those tracks would have been welcome on the debut album if they would have put it on here. There's also a really cool live blues jam on here as well called BUFO, Blues United Fighting Organization, which adds even more wonderful stuff to this, right? So yeah, really good stuff. This is my number one. It's great. It's one of the, like I said, unsung heavy rock guitar albums of the early 70s. So if you haven't heard it, you need to. And I would recommend getting any of these reissues. They're all really, really well done. So yeah, that's my number one. We're going to go with Tomorrow's Blue at number 2. We're going to go with Dreams at number 3. Number 4 is Stop the Crime / Hate the Hate. And then the 2 reissue albums, start with this one and then the other one, reissue. To finish it all off. So yeah, a very, very cool catalog, a very, very cool band. And it's funny, before I've actually, the label sent me all these like a while back, and I've just kind of been sitting on them, been wanting to talk about them here on the channel, and it just, so the stuff just starts piling up, and then you just, finally one day I'm like, I am going to do a Toad ranking very soon, and I'm going to talk about these reissues because they're very, very cool. And yeah, so check them out. And there is the late, great Vic, again, on his Firebird there. What an amazing guitar player. Like I said, the guitar work and the bass work on these albums are just off the charts great. Really, really good. So I'm going to put the link to the label if you want to pick up any of this stuff down below. I know they've been having all sorts of specials. I've been seeing it on Facebook all the time. They're running specials on some of this stuff to pick up the catalog. So, yeah, I will go drop that down below. And if you know these albums, rank them as you like them down in the comments below. Otherwise, go check them out. Let us know what you think. Report back, put it in the comments, and we'll see you next week for another Ranking the Album show. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as a post. And please hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. Thank you in advance for all your support there. We also have the membership options down below too. So for those of you who have joined up as members, I thank you. And we'll see you soon here at More Stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay tuned for another episode of What Is It Tonight? Till then, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.